Hi, everybody. Now, if you told me 5 years ago that UV light would be used on a giant robot to treat pests on farms, I probably wouldn't have believed you. And that's because it sounds like science fiction, and I think it still sounds like science fiction today. But it turns out that I'm actually the founder of this company that's using this giant Roomba for the farm that's carrying these lights, and it's actually working out there on the farm. So I thought, instead of giving a pitch about the market size and all of that, it'd be kind of a lot more fun to explain how we got here. Because I really didn't know much about agriculture about, 5 years ago. So, the entrepreneurial journey is almost more interesting than some of the things that we ended up with. So basically, when I started, as just a mechanical engineer in undergrad, I was always interested in a lot of things, and I always thought, maybe I'll start a company someday. But what I did was I took a job thinking I need to save some money so that I can pursue some of the ideas that I have, and I ended up in manufacturing. And in manufacturing, it was amazing because I wasn't a roboticist at all, but I saw all these robots moving around. And for me, that was kind of a life-changing experience because I said, well, I'm kind of an idea guy and I've got a background in engineering. So probably I could figure out how these things work. So I spent some time online, kind of like Googling around and just seeing how these robots could work. And I ended up being able to find just enough to get something moving, but Wikipedia didn't get me far enough along to actually understand how they move. So I said, okay, I better go back and get my PhD. So, which is kind of funny because my PhD was actually studying mobile robots, but these small mobile robots. And those robots were meant for like recon and search and rescue type missions. So the first thing we did with TRIC Robotics was actually build 3D printed robots for SWAT teams of all things. So TRIC actually stands for Throwable Robot for Inspection and Characterization. Not a lot of people know that, but it's funny how that journey of entrepreneurship can take you from throwable robots into agriculture. Because then I started thinking about the business. And I was saying, well, I'm going to graduate pretty soon here, and I need to be able to pay myself at least. And I really want to make a big impact in the world. And I said, well, I'm going to have to sell a lot of these robots to be able to pay an engineering salary. And someone said, hey, maybe agriculture is a better place to start because they've got this reoccurring revenue that they pay every season. They pay for something. But I didn't really know where to get started. So I kind of like leveraged other people's experience and shot an email to the USDA. And it had turned out that there were scientists there that spent 10 years figuring out how to use ultraviolet light as a replacement for chemical pesticides, but they had no idea how to get it from the lab to the farm. So I was kind of in the right place at the right time at that point and paired up with them and came up with this idea of using basically a big Roomba that can carry these lights up and down the rows. And at that point, I had no money. I was just still in my PhD. So I just applied to all these competitions and grant fundings, which all of you could do too. And I was able to get enough money to get started in my garage. And to build the team, I was getting my PhD at the time. So I said, why not teach a course? And I taught a course that brought students to me, and I got them excited about the project. And then they joined me in the garage to build these robots. And we were lucky enough that one of the farmers in Delaware at the time where we started was willing to let us actually take that and put it on his farm. But he whispered to us one day, he said, my farm's only 20 acres, and 90% of the farms that farm strawberries, which are the most chemically intensive crop, are in California. And as naive as we were, we said, okay, let's take the 2 prototypes we have and throw them on top of our SUV and just drive across the country. And we actually didn't have any idea how we were going to pay ourselves or pay for anything. We didn't even know where we were going to stay at the time. And as we were driving there, we heard back from a grant I had applied for 6 months earlier from the National Science Foundation. And that gave us the money we needed to get started. So we spent 8 months here running these robots with 2 farmers who said, I'll let you go on half an acre, but I'm not going to pay you. And after a couple months, there was a visible line in their field. And they said, okay, actually, how much acres can you do? And I'll start paying you. And that was not that long ago now. And it's just been amazing since then because I said, all right, if we need to build a bigger one, my retirement's just sitting there kind of doing nothing. And I can kind of help the world if I get these robots out there. So we found a manufacturer that helped us build tractor scale versions of these. And just last year in 2022, we were on 5 acres. And it's amazing how fast a startup can grow. because the word's now got out, and we're on nearly 100 acres with farmers paying us today. So so it's been really an incredible experience, and we're hoping to do 500 to 1,000 acres, and we're raising funding now to do that. So I think there's a lot of hope for getting some of these chemicals off of our food, helping make the farm workers safer, and just generally farming in a better way for the planet. Very excited to be here and share this story with you. And if anyone is looking for resources on how to get started with a company, there's amazing resources like the Hot House and the Small Business Development Center that we leveraged here in California, along with the whole community here to get this company started. So thank all of you for helping us make this journey a reality.